Good morning. It's 5:36 in the morning, 5:38 in the morning. How you doing? January 30th, it's a Thursday. Friday Eve makes the weekend seem closer, definitely. And we do have some changes coming in the forecast if you live in the Pacific Northwest. Chance of snow coming up this next week. Also, some very heavy rain right now in Texas. It's going to be moving into Louisiana, Arkansas. Some severe weather possible, maybe even some tornadoes. You want to tune in Tornado Pagey later today for that severe weather chase that's going on. Her link in the description of this video. Also, it's my birthday. 62 years old today. How in the world did that happen? Anyway, beats the alternative, right? Here are your hazards across the country today, and there you see those flash flood warnings already going on. North Texas, flash flood watches, North Texas through parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana. Also up in West Virginia. Further to the northeast, winter weather advisories for parts of Pennsylvania, New York State, getting into Connecticut, also Massachusetts. Then we look back in the four corners, our exiting storm system, bringing some snow there for Colorado and into New Mexico, some wind also in New Mexico, far west Texas. A little bit of fog with that increase in moisture into the Texas-Oklahoma panhandles through Oklahoma into Kansas. Northwest, that's going to be our next big story as the cold will bring snow even to the lowest elevations of western Washington and Oregon. For today, it's winter weather watches. Winter storm watches for the Cascades of Oregon and Washington, also getting into Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and a little bit of Utah there. Southern Oregon, winter storm warnings, along with winter weather advisories getting into Northern California as well. And Central California with those freeze warnings going on. Turning colder in the west as that trough continues to move south, bringing that colder air with it. Current temperatures shows cold air in the west. Look at Tucson in the 30s this morning. We have teens, single digits even for parts of Nevada and eastern Oregon, eastern Washington. The Rockies are cold. Warming up in the plains. We see temperatures very warm in Texas with that moisture and that rain and heavy rain. And so temperatures starting out in the 50s and 60s here this morning with, again, that risk of severe weather later. And kind of cold up there in the northeast, Great Lakes and northeast. Surface for today. We do have a chance for some ice, Pennsylvania into New Jersey. But there you see the heavy rain, North Texas all the way through Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, a little bit of Missouri, and the severe weather for Texas and Louisiana. Pacific Northwest, rain and snow depending on elevation and location. Here's your severe weather threat, the slight risk, Texas, Louisiana, a little bit of Mississippi. The marginal risk goes all the way into the I-35 corridor of Texas and all the way up to Little Rock, Arkansas, and getting into Jackson, Mississippi, and pretty much all of Louisiana. Otherwise, general thunderstorms. And there is a tornado risk today from Houston all the way up to near Shreveport, again, into along the Mississippi River there for Louisiana, Mississippi border. That's your 5% risk. Your 2% risk goes all the way to just north of San Antonio. That's going to include Waco and Austin, up to Little Rock, including New Orleans. So your chance of tornadoes not zero here, so have a way to get warnings today just in case. And your surface for tomorrow, cold front continuing eastward through Texas, and also further eastward into, say, the Great Lakes down through the southeast. That's where your showers and storms are going to be tomorrow, with a chance of heavy rain there in West Virginia. Some icing maybe from Michigan through Pennsylvania, New York into the northeast. Pacific Northwest getting colder, rain and snow all the way down to the coast. Heavy snow for the mountains of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and Northern California. Severe weather possible tomorrow, too. It's just a marginal risk, but a risk nonetheless for the Florida Panhandle into southern Alabama, parts of Georgia. Your rainfall, or I should say your precipitation, for the next 48 hours, the bullseye right there in Arkansas, that's 4 inches. Or maybe even a little bit more, and a wider swath of 2 to 3 all the way from Texas through Kentucky. Mississippi, too, decent amounts are about 1.5 inches. And the Oregon coast could see up to a couple inches of rain. But there will be some heavy snow here in the next couple of days, mainly for the Washington Cascades, parts of northern Idaho. But even central Idaho, decent amounts. Could see a foot of snow here with elevation. Maybe 6 to 10 inches for parts of Colorado, and up in the northeast, lighter amounts, but snow for New York into Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. By the time we get into the weekend, Saturday, we're turning towards the Pacific Northwest, where there is a lot of snow. Even the coast range of Oregon and the coast, some of the higher elevations, and they're not that high, near the coast for Washington as well. The Cascades getting pummeled here, and rain or snow even in the lower elevations. And atmospheric river, Northern California, some flooding possible, San Francisco. And then we get to the Great Lakes, a little bit of icing possible in Wisconsin and into Michigan, even North Dakota. Let's take a look at it on the GFS. Starting out 6 o'clock this morning, here's your heavy rain in North Texas, moving into Oklahoma and Arkansas. And as we move through the day, that heavy rain is going to continue. Storms are going to line up from Houston all the way into Little Rock, and here's your severe weather threat. So, straight line winds, certainly a possibility, but there could be some spin-ups with this line. And if you have some isolated supercells away from the line, that could get really dangerous with the tornado threat today. Again, Tornado Pagey is going to be out there covering it for you. And again, that link in the description. We got some heavy rain coming down in Kentucky later on as well. This is getting us into later tonight. As we get into midnight tonight and into tomorrow, we're starting to see some rain up here in Kansas, Missouri, into southern Iowa, and moving into Illinois, and then the heavier rains from Virginia through Kentucky back through the southeast, and the Pacific Northwest starts to get more active as we head into Friday. You see heavy rain in the lower elevations of Oregon and into Northern California. Meanwhile, we have our showers marching across the southeast with a little bit of snow up here on the north side. But the Pacific Northwest, too, is going to see that colder air sinking south. And we're going to start to see those rain chances turning to snow in time. And this gets us into Saturday morning, and we're starting to see snow almost, it looks like, down to the coast. Certainly Seattle, Portland, down to Eugene, starting to change to snow in the southern Willamette Valley, Medford rain, but that's probably going to change. And then as you get into Northern California, watch this atmospheric river here into Northern California, bringing some very heavy rains and high elevation rains even for the Sierra Nevada. That's going to change as well. But as we get into late Saturday, this is light snow, but snow nonetheless for the lower elevations of the Pacific Northwest and, of course, interior. A little bit of a system up here in the northern plains, upper Midwest as well. And as we go through time, we see a little low developing here, some snow into Nevada, some snow continuing, even in the lower elevations in Washington. A little bit of rain mixing in at the coast, but rain and snow for the Willamette Valley. As we finish up the weekend and get into Monday, we see our little system here moving into South Dakota, parts of northern Nebraska, and a little bit of scattered light snow showers, cold enough for snow, in the Pacific Northwest, continuing as we get through Monday. Again, the snow looks like it's going to be on the light side, but it's coming down, which means whatever snow you have isn't going away. You're just adding a little bit to it at a time. This gets us into Wednesday. Still cold, still snowing along the coast, low off the coast of Oregon and Washington. Meanwhile, this little system bringing some ice perhaps into Missouri, Kansas, Missouri, into Illinois, some snow further to the north. It's on the light side as well. But you see this cold air sinking further south, even through San Francisco now. I'm not saying it's going to snow in San Francisco. I'm just saying that cold air is getting into central California. This becomes more of a mess as it moves across the country. So you've got rain for the Mid-South transitioning to ice through parts of the Midwest, Ohio Valley transitioning to snow further to the north. This gets us into Thursday. Staying cold in the northwest, but the precipitation stops. We're starting to see a little bit more of that snow getting into parts of California. Rain across the east and southeast. And a little bit of cold air now sinking even into the northern plains, central plains, and back into the northeast. So we're starting to turn colder again as we end the first week of February. Some pretty low elevation snows even on the light side, but Northern California. And then it turns heavy snow for the Sierra Nevada, Northern California, getting into Nevada itself. This gets us into Thursday night and into Friday. So this is a week away. So that gets you through into next weekend. We'll just go through next weekend real quick just to show you some of the trends. Some of the warm up now for California as we get into the 8th and cooling off now for the middle part of the country. Maybe even a little snow here for northern Arkansas if this comes exactly true. But again, we're just looking at trends here. Mid-Atlantic snow, perhaps another storm for the Pacific Northwest, which is typical now. Warm front, rain back in the Willamette Valley by the time you get into a week from Sunday. So kind of a cold week with some snow at times, and then that colder air gets scoured out as we get into, say, February 10th or so. But it looks like snow's still up here in Seattle, hanging on. And even behind the low, some more snow. So kind of a snowy time of it for the Pacific Northwest. It happens on occasion. All right, here are your trends for, say, the 6th through the 12th of February. And below average temperatures north and west. And above average temperatures, a good bet, south and east. Precipitation-wise, best chance of above average precipitation right there in the Midwest, down the Mississippi River Valley. But most of the country with at least a slight chance of above average precipitation. The exceptions would be the Southwest, where they do need more moisture, and also into Florida. So there you have it. Some severe weather today possible. Texas, Louisiana, heavy rains going on with that system. And then we look to the Pacific Northwest for some snow and cold for next week. All right, that's my update today. I'm going to go celebrate my birthday. You have a great rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.